fucking frying chicken in there.
I say, you're like you're frying chicken in there. You gotta piss on the side of the damn bowl. Hey, Hello, hi, and welcome to Queer Peer Reviews. Here we review queer media, good, bad, and ugly. I'm your host, Bruce, and next to me is my co-host, Justin, once again.
Hello and greetings. Here at Queer Peer Reviews, we review your favorites and not so favorites of queer shows, queer games, and queer characters, and other queer media.
Today we're reviewing a popular YouTube series called HELLUVA BOSS, created by Vivian Madrano.
Also known as Vivsipop. This show is its own indie show, even though the sister show got picked up, also by Vivian Madrano.
Well, technically, yeah.
So
it started off with the pilot episode of Has Been Hotel, which is currently being picked up, which currently got picked up by A24. And it's in production at this moment, so hopefully we'll see that soon. But yeah, and sort of like, I guess, the offspring that came from Has Been Hotel is this HELLUVA BOSS, and I guess it takes place in the same world.
Yeah, same universe.
And all.
Same realm of hell.
Yeah, this show kind of exists for the sole purpose of us, like, holding us down until Has Been Hotel.
Yeah, like an appetizer.
Yeah.
In the pilot, hilariously enough, you see one of the, like, beta designs for one of the characters.
Yeah.
That shows up later. So
different from Has Been Hotel, HELLUVA BOSS follows these three imps and their, I guess, hellhound?
Yeah.
And these three imps, one of them is the main boss. His name is Blitz.
The O is silent.
And we have Millie and Moxxie, who are a couple.
Yes.
Very much a very violent power couple.
Yeah.
And they're very pissed off, edgy teenager hellhound.
Yeah,
Loona.
they have like an adopted daughter, Loona.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's a very interesting family dynamic. And also workplace dynamic.
Yeah.
In hell.
And so the whole point of them is that they have this business where they're hired killers, where demons or like damned souls approach them and say, hey, this guy killed me and I go to hell, but he doesn't. I want him dead in the real world, and that's what they hire them for. Hired guns, bodyguards, whatever. Anything that gets them money. Mm-hmm. And also to clarify, we'll be reviewing season 1. I know season 2 is currently still in the works. I think there's 5 episodes of season 2?
Yeah.
But it's not complete yet, so we want to just focus on season 1 complete. And if you want us to review season 2, let us know in the comments.
So be aware, there will be spoilers for only season 1 here. So I'm not gonna lie. Seeing any sort of indie animation on not just YouTube, Newgrounds, all of the classic places is such a breath of fresh air, and to know that this was embraced by the online community in a way where they were able to really work on the production, really make it something incredible, and you see that over the course of the show. And it's just so nice. It's so nice to see somebody with an original idea make something new and have it be well received.
And hired freelance artists who don't get the opportunity to work in high production. I mean, for a very small YouTube series, it's very well done animation production.
Yeah.
Very clear, very clean.
Yeah, there's so many really cool indie projects that are on YouTube right now. So definitely keep your eye out. We might even be reviewing them. But
I would argue this is one of the few series where it's actually kind of consistent in a way that it doesn't take a whole year for another episode to drop by.
Yeah.
So far it's been every 2 months or so,
Yep.
but it's still when it comes, like I said, YouTube production-wise, that's pretty good consistent.
Oh yeah, and the merch is really cool. I think that's the way that they get revenue, because they have YouTube ad revenue, but I'm sure that that's not always consistent, especially with the nature of the show being so mature. They have merch drops that are actually really cool. So I got a few things myself.
Like this one right here. We have the Grimoire, which also belongs to another character who pops up every episode once in a while, named Stolas. Yeah. Basically, Blitz's lover.
I'll put that. That'll be the affectionate way to put it. It's a mess. The show's character dynamics are. I feel like they're messy on purpose to kind of show.
I mean, to be fair, they're demons, so they kind of already have shit personalities in a way. But other than that, for season 1, for each episode is actually very unique on its own. I did like the one episode I did like too was kind of like the angels when because now we have like the opposite of the imps, which is like the angels, and their job is to, I guess, keep
it's supposed to be that Hell's population gets too big, and so they have to come down, like angels have to come down and kill a bunch of demons to keep the population in control. They don't really get too much into it. I'm assuming that's going to be more Has-Been Hotel, because that's like the premise for Has-Been Hotel is that they're trying to rehabilitate, but we'll get more into that in another review.
I'm talking about the cherubs. Remember, they were trying to help this old rich dude and trying to like show him like to not kill himself.
Yep.
But in the end, he was actually a straight up piece of shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. that was a funny episode for me. Also, like the murder family.
Oh yeah.
That was the first episode,
That's
but that was a very strong like season episode for me. Like a very strong opening for it. Because funny enough, like I said, like Moxxie, besides him being a demon, despite them being imps, supposed to be the sense of hell or evil, they still have a morality thing in a way. It's like, oh, I don't know, we should just kill these guys. Like
it's so interesting to me because, I mean, we learn more later in season 2, so I'm not going to get into that. But there's also there seems to be an influence on, like, I want to say from Earth to Hell, but it might be more than that. It seems like the behaviors of the denizens of Hell, like creatures that are from Hell, rather than the damn souls that come from Earth who like die and then go to Hell. There's a definite influence on the people coming from Hell and how they influence the world around them. And there's also, again, there's this interesting kind of play going on with the way that technology and culture from the real world or from Earth travels through the people who die into Hell, and then not just into Hell where all of them go, because that's one, I think it's the Pride Ring is where all the earthly sinners go. Then how that bleeds into all the other realms.
People are like, why they have phones and all that? Or...
Yeah, the technology, even the culture, because like Moxxie comes off as a very like Italian mafia guy, and it's like, okay, why? Why is this demon from Hell who's never been there?
Isn't there a demon with like a TV head?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of demons. That's one of the really cool things about Helluva Boss is the sheer OC ability of Helluva Boss. You can create an OC that fits the lore of Helluva Boss, basically like water. Like anything that you can think of probably exists in one of the realms. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I also noticed another thing when it comes to season 1, like with like OCs, we also get introduced to a lot of different characters, but they also build a bit on like the background for mostly Blitz. Yeah, it's, like his past like exes.
Yep.
Like one of them was like the succubus. Episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
And that's the other thing. It feels like they're trying. I said before about OCs, and not just OCs, also like sexuality and the way that it's treated in Hell. People still use, demons and damn souls still use slurs and things, but like at the same time, it's treated as normal and expected that most people would be some level of like sexually promiscuous or fluid or whatever it is. It's a very interesting show. It's very, very interesting, and you'll see that if you watch it.
I mean, it's like, old demons naturally like just hate each other, so they would just call each other like insults. So, yeah,
and that's the other thing too, because in the I'm trying to think, they run a business, or Blitz runs a business, so there's like this capitalism dichotomy going on where there are imps in Hell, and they're supposed to be like the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
But then you have hellhounds who are under them, even though they're both sentient creatures that can speak and learn and write and talk. So it's like very interesting, the dichotomy there. It's almost like a caste system. And obviously, I'm assuming Lucifer is like at the very tip top. So it's just like a very interesting, like the world building in the show is very strange, but you come to just accept it, and they go through it as the show progresses. And you learn more and more and more about how the culture of Hell works. Oh, Stryker.
Oh, I actually liked his character Stryker, especially because it was voiced by Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the one thing too with this is like it surprised me that they have some like very good like guest voice work.
Isn't they have Invader Zim?
Well, that's the voice of Moxxie. Yeah, that's Richard. So, Yeah, I did like Stryker. I did like they incorporate like animals based in like each of these demons. So he was like, I guess he was a complete snake. But
Yeah. He definitely has reptilian designs, and like I said, each of the different realms of hell is run by like a different demon prince. So they're all different. What's it called? They reflect whatever the nature is of that realm.
I also noticed this like all the other characters too when it comes to like queer representation. And that same episode with Stryker, because I was basically visiting Millie's family. Millie has a sister who's trans.
Yeah.
And now I immediately caught that. I was like, as I know, because what they do with the designs is that the imp's horns are like, I guess, specified when it comes to male and female.
Yeah, they showcase
and Millie's sister has horns that are typically for the male imps, but
dress and are
even voiced obviously
yeah.
by a trans voice actor. So I loved a lot of inclusivity in this, and despite them like being hateful as fuck to each other and just basically violent killers, but at least they're inclusive.
Yeah. The other thing too, I feel like, is that there's it takes place in hell. These creatures live in hell. They've lived in hell their entire existence, but you can tell. I don't want to say that there's humanity there, but there is some level of family. There's some level of community. There's some level. All that exists in hell because these creatures need each other to survive. Like, hell is obviously like a worst case scenario place to be. So they need each other, and they have this, like we said before, they have not only culture, but they also have society in hell. Yeah, it's kind of loosely held up by a bunch of kingpins and things like that, but like you can tell that people care about one another. And I feel like as the show goes on, you see this double standard where certain groups are not allowed to have like peace and like some sense of like normalcy, while other groups kind of use their power to like have arguably like healthy relationships or whatever. They have this like healthier space where they can be vulnerable, which is rare in hell.
Yeah, I would argue that the family while they are family, in general they're all unhinged. So that builds on the hell.
I mean, if you live in hell, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So let's get to those ratings.
All right, first up is representation.
All right, so for representation, I give it a
9.
Give it an 8.7.
All right, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Everybody fucks.
Not everyone.
Okay,
but I haven't seen those characters yet.
How about this? Blitz fucks.
I mean, yeah, he's the star of the channel. He's the star of the channel.
No, yeah. But what I mean is like, yeah, like almost every character in there is like mostly bi or just gay, and yeah, that's it.
It's hard for me to say because like obviously there's like official lore and things like that, but
that's more in season 2.
I don't even. The thing is, for me, especially when it comes to representation, I want it to be clear. I want it to be very clear so that no one has to be confused and you don't have to read through like 17 pages of Wattpad to figure out what people are. Like, I want it to be like distinct in the show, and I want you know what I mean? Steven Universe didn't shy away from that shit. It was all like right there out in the open. And so it's like, and as time has progressed, we've seen more and more of that. And so I guess my standards have kind of gone up a little bit where I want that more often than not. I want people to be able to express what they are. Not that they need to, but even without telling us directly, you can express it in a way where it's clear. And I don't get that 100% from HELLUVA BOSS, and I also don't know that there are any ace characters yet, so that is a thing. Maybe the cherubs, but even then,
I think the cherubs are.
Yeah,
I like to think they are.
They just don't say anything, so that's why it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, like I said, it's like every episode. There's always like something, like we mentioned one of the episodes. We had a trans character there, voiced by a trans actor.
Yep.
Voice actress. Yeah. So. I think they do.
It's definitely it's a good representation, and the show is inclusive. There's no arguing that, which is fantastic.
Yeah, despite the fact that they do like call each other slurs, but that's just how.
Yeah, and the other thing too, again, not in my youth, but I would argue, or I would ask, in your youth, was that like a thing that like people did as like like it becomes a term of endearment the same way like the N-word can argue that it's like a term of endearment? Does that happen?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I did a nice turn to the camera when you said all that. I was like,
I'm just saying, I feel like slurs get taken back a fair amount of the time by communities. Not that they're completely, you don't erase or lose the derogatory nature of the slur, but it can be kind of taken back in certain instances. So I just find that interesting. And I guess if you want to talk about that in the comments, just don't use the slurs. Thanks.
representation is, yeah, we give it a 9.
So up next, queer comfort.
For queer comfort, we give it a. I give it an 8.
I give it a 5.
Whoa. Okay.
There are some really brutal things that happen in this show in relation to being queer. And also the unfortunate reality that this show takes place in hell. There's this Judeo-Christian spin on the entire show. And the idea is that if you're gay, you end up here, because we have not seen any gay, pan, whatever have you, characters that are in heaven, because we haven't seen heaven yet. So I don't know whether or not this is just reinforcing all those Judeo-Christian standards. So that's my question when it comes to this, is that I like that I'm seeing them. There is some comfort happening, but at the same time, there's some really this is a really adult show. And I would argue for kids, and especially like younger people watching the show, I don't know how comforted they'd feel seeing all of this stuff. So
I don't think it's clicked. I don't know.
I mean, they literally have a disclaimer in the beginning of every episode. This is not for kids, so it's like,
oh no, I know,
maybe
but the kids,
for adults, but
I tell you, it's more like on the queer comfort of things. Is like you're saying that suggests is like all queer people are in hell.
Well, that I don't know if that's what the show is saying. I think they're trying to argue that like the people in hell deserve redemption, and that God's rules or whatever the laws in the Bible, whatever you want to say, are too stringent, and like that's like kind of the point of the show. But as it stands right now, and especially just with season 1, and it's not for kids. So it's like really it would just be adults watching this, watching people go in. It's almost like a TV novella where they're suffering because they're in love with people that they think they shouldn't be, and this and that. So it's like it's weird for me. So I give it a 5 because they're there, and there's that's an argument, but it's, you know what I mean? It's hard for me. Hard for me to say that it's a comforting show.
That is
in hell.
That's an interesting take on that. Let us know what you think of that in the comments.
I'm not, like I said, a 5 it's in the middle of the road. I'm not saying the show is mid by any means. I'm saying that the comfort is, it's gonna be yes for some people and hard no for some people. So that's what I'm gonna say. It's in the middle of the road. I look forward to your hellish comments.
And next up, originality.
So for originality, we give it a
9.
Yeah, I give it a 9 too.
Yeah. No, this is definitely interesting. I seen there's a lot of shows that take place in hell, like Adult Swim, Your Pretty Face Goes to Hell, where it's like a corporate office thing. But yeah, so yeah, make it a hellscape. And I guess when the looming thing's over, like you mentioned before, it's like capitalism, and that's what like reigns over there.
To quote my favorite Spider-Man, it's a metaphor for capitalism. But no, there's for me in originality, Dante's Inferno, great game, great book, great story. There's so many stories that have to do with hell because of the human fascination with the afterlife and death and rebirth and all this sort of stuff. For me, hell is an interesting place to write stories and to talk about, and it shows up in so many like cultures over all of humanity because of that human desire to know that there's something more, there's something beyond this life or this world or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this take specifically, Vivzi's take on hell, is interesting for a plethora of reasons. I can appreciate that. And so that's where this comes from. Also, again, the work that all these people put in to make this show exist and happen and look as clean and nice as it does deserves the recognition that it deserves. So definitely a well fought for, well earned 9 from me. And from you too. Go watch the show. It's good. And next up, writing.
For writing, we give it a 7. Oh wow, you see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Writing wise, the pacing is pretty good. I would have to argue that the dialogue is. They always have. They can't have a line without saying like "fuck" in it for some reason, or like any like they say. If there's a dictionary of like old curse words, they try to like say everything in like each episode.
So I know that there are more than one writer, but and maybe I'm making a little bit of a generalization here, but I know that Vivzie assumably has a fair amount of control over how it runs. She's probably put a lot of people on who have similar like thought processes and sense of humor. And as a result of that, you kind of get an echo chamber where the things that you like bleed into the product, which is normal and to be expected. But Blitzo's voice actor, I think his name is
Brendan Rogers.
Brendan Rogers. He has a very distinct style. He's like a comedian. He has a very distinct style. And Blitz, the main character, arguably has like a lot of
it's basically him.
Yeah, it's basically just him bleeding into it.
That's what Brendan Rogers. If you've seen Brendan Rogers, that's literally what Blitz is like. It's vulgar. So I could get that character. I can get that. I guess so, but
I can see it for like again as something that in theory in any other dimension would have existed on Adult Swim. I get it. Like I get why the show is the way that it like sounds the way that it sounds and is the way that it is.
I think it's eventually it just gets a little like
yeah, it can get a little grating. It's still a good show and it's fun, but there are moments where you're like, I wanted to know more about this, and then it just doesn't happen. And then there's all this diegetic stuff getting told through storytelling, and then you're missing other things in other places. So the 7, it's definitely solid, and especially that it's its own indie thing, good. But there's some things, and I hope that they get ironed out as time moves on, because it can only go up from here. I'd hope.
Yeah, we definitely didn't see season 2, so
let us know.
And lastly, overall.
All right, so our overall score is.
I give it a 7.5.
I give it a 9.5.
You give it a 5 on one of the other ratings.
On Comfort,
How did
yeah.
you...
But this is what I'll say. There's potential here. There's a lot of potential for things, not just for Helluva Boss, but for all story creators that are making things online. If this goes well, there could be a lot more stories to tell. And that's what I'm excited about watching the show. And especially at the end of season 1, I was so hungry for more. I was ready. I was ready for the next season.
I guess I see what you mean, like potential-wise. Like I said, I think like the writing could be a little better for some characters that need to be more focused on, like Millie, and hopefully done better. And we, like I said, we totally did not see season 2. But if you want to know our thoughts season 2, let us know. But other than that, too, when it comes to the representation, really strong representation they have there. I also appreciate the fact that they got really great guest voice actors in there involved, and they did their best. Like Norman Reedus, like I said, I enjoyed hearing him. Like besides being Daryl,
yeah.
So,
the Kesha music video was fantastic, even though I don't think Kesha was singing.
That was a weird one.
Yeah.
Kesha did not do her singing voice, even though she is a professional singer. Other than that, I give it a 7.5. Like I said, let us know if you want us to do season 2.
Yeah.
And for our Q per total, Trayvon, hit us with that gay shit.
Helluva Boss has got a 79.7 from you guys. And we got to round that up. It is a B.
All right, yeah. So we give it a grade B for Helluva Boss season 1.
Yeah, respectable number for sure. I think that again, the second season could get a different score. It all depends. It all depends on how it goes. So I'm interested to see.
We have links to the Trevor Project down below, and also make sure you subscribe to us and follow our other social medias if you want to keep them updated. And of course, let us know, as I said in the comments, if you want us to review anything else or even season 2 once that season is done.
Is that it?
That's it. Cut it off. Cut it off.